Okay, we are live. Another Pollstar digital session with the newly formed Mint Talent Group, which is a group of 9 founding agents, very notable agents that have started their own thing. It's sort of unprecedented territory right now with a lot of agents being let go from major talent agencies and able to do their own thing. So we're very excited to be able to provide a platform and to discuss a very well-known group of agents that are representing very notable artists such as Allman Brothers Band, Blackberry Smoke, Brian McKnight, Stick Figure, Stephen Marley, and legends like Taj Mahal. So it's kind of a big group here, so we're going to have to go around the horn a little bit and try to keep things on track as well. We have the founding agents are Patrick McAuliff, Phil Egenthal, and CJ Strock, and I would like everyone to go around and introduce yourselves, maybe give a little bit about your background and your clients if you feel inclined. And Patrick, maybe you'd be the one to discuss.
Sure. Thanks for hosting this. Really appreciate that. My name is Patrick McAuliff. I was previously at Paradigm, and before that, Monterey International. And I represent artists like Brian McKnight, Stick Figure, Stephen Marley, Steel Pulse, to blues artists like Shamika Copeland. Just a really a diverse group of talent that I'm so proud to be representing day in, day out. Phil, you want to go from here?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Phil Egenthal. Some people call me Boca Phil, which you may have affectionately heard many times in the past, or a few times. I have a very well-rounded roster that's rooted in a lot of New Orleans music. I previously was working at Paradigm Talent Agency, and before that, Madison House. I had my own agency for a short while called the Philosophy Agency. And before that, I worked with CJ Strock at Evolution Talent Agency when I lived in New York City. And CJ?
Hi. Thank you for joining us today. Pollstar, thank you for having us. My name is CJ Strock, fresh out of Syracuse University into Evolution Talent Agency that Phil mentioned. And then on from there, opening up my own shop with Johnny Podell Talent. 10 years later, moved the shop over to WME, and here we are today at Mint Talent Group. My roster includes, as Ryan had mentioned, the Allman Brothers Band, Blackberry Smoke, over to Erasure, and over to my youngest client, Brandon Taz Niederauer, and many in between. Who is next here?
I can go.
Michael.
Hey, yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm Michael. I've been an agent since about 2003. I'm really happy to be part of Mint and launching an agency at the only time in history when people actually feel sorry for agents. So we've got that going for us. I bring about 30 different clients to Mint. I love them all. You can call me and I'll tell you about all of them, but I'm going to give 2 of them in particular a shout out today, just because it's totally timely. The multi-talented, kind, beautiful Gabby Marino has been nominated for Best Traditional Pop Vocal Album at the Latin Grammy Awards today. So congrats to her. And a really brilliant blues electric trio out of Boston called GA20. They debuted on the Billboard Blues charts at #1 today. So I'm highlighting those 2 just because it's so timely. But call me anytime and I'll tell you about everybody else. Thank you.
My name is Logan Handelsman, and contrary to Michael in 2003, I was just training for my bar mitzvah. But I did years later go to Vanderbilt, graduate. I started at Progressive Global Agency working for Buck Williams before starting at CA for the past 7 years. And there my focus was on transformational electronic music and progressive rock, and, sort of finding the common thread between those, scenes and fan bases and groups of different artists. And, that's sort of something we're continuing here at Mint that we're excited to tell you more about today.
Great. I don't think we heard from Ryan Owens yet.
Hi, my name's Ryan Owens. I my journey has led me to some great people that I'm super stoked to be involved with. And the agency realm, I met a guy when I was at college, Western Illinois University, that put me on my road to where I am today. His name was Ken Kohlberger, and he worked at a company called Premier Talent with Frank Barcelona. That was a life-changing moment that led me to go for an internship to the agency group. And from there, I was able to land a position at Monterey International, and then from there to Paradigm. And I would say I'm not going to single out one client, but a lot of, artists that I'm involved with in terms of the booking space are very transformational, singer-songwriter and kind of roots reggae. And I will be heading up the casino department within Mint here internally. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Pete Wiederlight. Sorry, after you, please.
Oh, you go, Pete.
Okay. My name is Pete Wiederlight. I spent 18 years at William Morris Agency, then WME. Worked predominantly in the festival space the last 5 years, where I ran the electronic festival group, I should say. And this year, I'm going to be heading up the international and domestic festival department at our new found endeavor at Mint, which I'm super excited about, working alongside such incredible agents and talent. A lot of my roster is in electronic, but also in the jam space, some of the pop space, et cetera. Super excited to be here and looking forward to the questions.
Mary, I'll jump in. Hi, my name is Mary Allen, agent formerly at Madison House. And I'm thrilled to be launching the electronic division alongside Pete and Logan at Mint. I'm bringing about a dozen artists with me, like Closey, Memba, Immersive, Apache, and Bag Raiders, to name a few. So I work with an eclectic mix of artists spanning the electronic space, and couldn't be more happy to be joining the family at Mint. And thanks for having us, Pollstar.
I'm Cassie Siegel, also formerly of Madison House. I am joining with a fairly diverse roster ranging from Americana folk, roots, to reggae, to hip hop. Some of my clients include Brother Ali, Rising Appalachia, The Movement, and Bluegrass Kitchen Dwellers. I'm super stoked to be a part of this and excited to be here today. So,
great. Well, thank you all for that. As we see, I think it's normal enough to come from various backgrounds with various talents and artists, but how, with a lot of agents out of work right now for, in the industry hurting in many different ways all across the board, I'm curious to hear about how this one particularly formed. Usually with a group of agents from 4 different agencies, that might not be exactly what you expect. So maybe Patrick, you can talk a little bit about putting together Mint as an agency and how it all came together, because it's a lot of different parts and a lot of different divisions and experience there.
Yeah, it came together very organically. I mean, 6 months ago is when I got laid off, and being at Paradigm and talking and connecting with other agents that are in going through the same experience at that moment, not even realizing at that time how many more would be coming in and into the kind of laid off pool, was just really, at that moment, I kind of realized for myself, like, I want to try to go into move back into the independent space. And so conversations, with all different agents from all different agencies started happening. And you can kind of tell just from the introductions here, everyone kind of has a link to somebody here previously. And, as those relationships and conversations starting, a lot of the personalities and connections just kind of fit and resonated within each of us. So I think, that's really how Mint came together with this core group, was we all kind of saw the vision, saw what we could do together, and really kind of reimagine what, an independent agency could be.
You've outlined some specific things that might differentiate Mint from, or you put Mint in category with similar agencies, sort of marketing and branding. Can we talk more about sort of the overall structure and the services that Mint will provide apart from just booking appearances and festivals and various tour dates?
Thank you.
CJ, do you want to start there?
Yes. Well, a couple key points that we want to mention is we have the Honor Society. The Honor Society is our platform that we've crafted, where our artistic leaders will aid in shaping the direction of the agency, as well as the company in our legislative efforts across various issues affecting the artistic community. That's one piece that we want to highlight. Also, we like to highlight Mint Sports. Mint Sports, we will bring sports to the stage, utilizing our platform to build productions and properties for broadcast talent, coaches, and athletes. And we're very, very excited about both of those aspects of the company.
Of course, and while we talked about there wasn't really titles on within Mint, there is a founder and there are multiple divisions, and clearly that speaks to your different experiences. But can we talk about how you sort of decided what you wanted the structure of Mint to look like and the different services you provide?
We wanted really to have a platform where everyone could basically utilize, to realize whatever, their goals were. If you have, if you work in a specific genre or specific area of expertise and you wanted to expand what you did and you didn't want to be pigeonholed or be told that that was exactly what you had to do, this is your opportunity. We want to support and encourage you. We have a network of agents and people at our company that will have, other people we can reach out to that's going to empower you. And that's basically what it is. We're coming together so that we can allow people to grow their own business within our business and for themselves.
Right, and we did talk about the roster. While you might have certain experience in certain genres, you're not limited to that, and that must be different. And there are pros and cons of working as an independent. Is that part of it, of being able to do sort of being able to grow as an individual as opposed to part of a bigger thing? Or can we talk a bit about some of the pros and cons of working as an independent?
Well, I think that working as an independent, you have basically a lot more freedom to, obviously pursue different types of projects across the board, but you also are not limited to the specific team you're on. You can play with lots of different arenas. I think maybe we should open up and see. Do any of the rest of you guys want to jump in here? Pete?
I would just say, the tight-knit family vibe, is something that I really have embraced. Coming from a bigger agency, sometimes it's a little bit tougher, but within the smaller group, everybody's voice is really resonates, which is, I think, amazing. We all meet as a smaller, tight-knit group, have our own areas of expertise, but nothing's off the table in terms of what we talk about and how we all bring our own experiences to the table. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, kind of what we're all hitting on is just the mobility of not just this group, but being able to pursue things quicker. If an artist has a question, they can just ask. And if we don't know, we'll go find out. And there's just a lot more flexibility in terms of working in different categories, working with different artists, getting things done without having to take it up the chain every time. So that's, I started in that world originally at a boutique agency, and kind of after a few different changes, ended up at a large agency. And we're just not bogged down anymore. And, presenters are going to be respected. There's a professional courtesy that I think that exists among all of us that's like-minded. And I think it just gets back to being in the independent fashion of just being able to be mobile on our feet and get answers and get things done a little quicker.
And using all of our experience from all the shops we've come from to kind of bring it together, and really drive home what has worked and some things that haven't worked, and trying to, really use everyone's experience to kind of make Mint a great shop.
Definitely. I think what's fascinating about the time right now, and to be kind of blunt, is that in my time doing this, which is over more than 10 years, you would never see art. In the agency business is kind of unique because you often, and most of the time, you're coming with your client. So you're representing the artists, and you can take those to other agencies, and that's normal enough. But for agents with notable artists that are selling a lot of tickets, such as your roster, usually to not have a major or any type of agency home for a period is unique. What's it like having that sort of leverage, or you have your artists still, even though your previous employers weren't able to keep you for whatever reasons? That's not the point. The point is you still have your talent, you still have your artist. How important was that, and how empowering was that right now, where a lot of people aren't able to say they have a core part of their business still?
I'll speak to that. I feel like a sort of what Pete was saying, like a major part of what we've built here and what we've come together as is this mentality of family. Family is first. And it's not just our families at home, but also the family we work with. And having your entire roster say, yes, I'm a part of that, just is like such a deeper level of like, that is my family. Like I go to bat for them every single day and they're my family. And now they want to go on an adventure with me, which is, you could say risky, but also super exciting. And then I think even if we weren't able to keep our clients, we have everyone that's involved in this agency that's like, it doesn't matter, we'll find you more. So there's no losing.
Yeah, I think as challenging as these last few months have been, at least for me personally, having the confidence of the majority of my artists to stay with me and take on this new adventure with all of us has been one of the most rewarding aspects of the whole COVID experience.
Yeah, I just to double down on that. I mean, again, having your artists with the day you're laid off say, hey, wherever you end up, working, if it's out of your garage, we're with you. That personally let me, take the time and really kind of figure out what the next move is best for me, in turn best for the artist. And having your artist commit to you like that, it means the world, and it just is empowering.
Well, as we're able to do video calls like this and work from home essentially, do you think there's a morphing of the agency business right now, where maybe not everybody has to have a major talent agency? Or I mean, there's been boutiques before, and but it looks like we're going to be seeing more of them. But does this signal a change in the agency business, do you think, or is it more of an isolated case, just personality-wise?
Well, I think the way that artists are making money and their business model is changing. And as a result of that, we as agents are changing. And Mary, do you want to talk a little bit about that, about some of your clients and some of the adopting, how things have been going?
Yeah, sure. I think obviously when this first all happened, all shows canceled, all tours canceled, it was an immediate scramble to, okay, what are the alternative options? And a lot of those alternatives fell into managers' hands more than the agents' hands, such as streaming opportunities and just other revenue sales, like doing more merch and things like that. And of course, the drive-in concept has been really interesting to watch unfold. That was, aside from streaming, kind of the primary option our industry immediately pivoted to in effort to keep fans physically in front of artists for as close to the real live experience as possible. As I mentioned, I work primarily in electronic, and the amount of EDM specific drive-in options that have popped up have been overwhelming, and it's been really incredible to see. And what's pretty cool about it is it's not the major companies out there like AG and the big massive promoters doing these. It's the independent promoters that are out there taking the risks and out there grinding in order to provide a live concept for our artists and for us as agents to be able to book for our clients. They're incredibly expensive and logistically challenging for a fraction of the profits. So I think at first, I know I was really against them, but here we are 6 months later, and our artists are dying to be on stage and dying to have that engagement with their fans in a live setting. And at the same time, they're having to deal with this internal thing of, well, I want to do the safe and responsible thing. I don't want to encourage group gatherings. So it's kind of this balance that they've all been having to deal with. And now that we're relatively out of the trial and error phase, we've seen promoters out there pulling off these drive-ins successfully and responsibly and safely. So now I have my artists that are starting to come around what feels like almost overnight, and they're all like, I'm ready to go, let's do this. So I think the drive-in concept has been really fun to navigate in this new world. And it's definitely come with its own set of complications, but at this point, we all have to adjust. And I think there's some really good models out there, and I've been having fun with it. And I know artists have been having fun with it. So I think the drive-ins are here to stay for a bit. I don't think necessarily forever, but at least right now it's one of the best live alternative options that we have. That's been fun to explore.
I just spoke with the collective, Michael Berg and Chris from Collective doing the big drive-in shows. It's been a huge success, and it is notable how it seems like the major promoters are definitely active right now, the streaming and drive-ins and virtual shows as well, but the ones taking the chances right now and putting in the real work, because like you said, I know the drive-in shows are not easy right now. They're expensive, they're logistically difficult, but so is putting on a regular festival, right? I think it shows how people are able to be nimble and put in the hard work and figure out the model right now. And that's great to hear that your clients, because I know it also depends on client to client, every artist about when they want to go back out, what kind of shows they want to do, and what that may look like for them. So that brings us to an audience question, which is not a simple one, but just overall, do we have an idea of what the timing of getting bands back on the road in 2021 looks like? It seems like we've been doing this, more than 6 months now. We don't know a whole lot more than we did, but is there anything we can talk about just general touring right now?
I think kind of going along a little bit with what I was saying earlier, I think every artist is on their own timeline of comfortability, and it's our job as agents to listen and respect to everybody's own perspective, client by client. And, in essence, we're almost like waiting in the wings, so to speak. And, when your artist is ready, then there are opportunities out there. Of course, they look a little different, and none of us know exactly when we'll get back to what we were before COVID, but there are options out there. They're popping up more and more. And I think it's just a client by client thing on a human level, how comfortable artists are with taking these risks and doing something a little different and stepping outside the box.
The artists and fans are willing, when willing, there's a way to do it. And there's probably a way to, not perfect, but there's probably ways to make it work for everybody. So that's great to hear. Does anybody have experience with the virtual shows right now that's worked out? I saw, I think maybe Blackberry Smoke had a series that's ongoing that looked pretty cool. And I don't know about others that may want to speak.
Cassie, do you want to talk about some of the stuff that you guys did with some of the virtual privates?
Sure. Some of my acts have sort of stepped into this like direct to consumer style Zoom calls, where they've created like Zoom parties. And a lot of this happened back in May and June, and it was graduation parties and birthday parties and, baby showers. And they got on a call, and the people that coordinated the call said we were going to have 15 people. And it was like a 30-minute slot of how much time you paid for. So for every additional 30 minutes, it was however much more. And it actually was, the feedback was incredible because fans could curate the playlists or the set list, and they could ask, you know, oh, we love this loop of this song. Can you play it again? You know, like it was as personal as you can get as a fan with an act that you can't even say hi to anymore, you know? And that's been really cool. I also think the house party or the house show is making a big comeback. So it goes beyond the independent promoter, and now these fans who own land or have a big backyard or, you know, can get all their friends on a Zoom call are really driving the business for a lot of these acts. And the acts that I work with are really into it. I mean, it's a new level of being personal with your fans. It's been cool.
I think that's a great silver lining because, to your point, you know, there's a lot of this direct to fans, where in the past you might have, you know, managers or labels sort of policing artists' Instagrams and social media pages. Now it's, you know, on these you know, privates and drive-ins, what have you. It's a direct to consumer, direct to fans, which I think has been incredible. That level of access has never sort of been there before, and I think it's a great silver lining that we're seeing during these times, that more and more artists are a lot more engaged and you know, taking those opportunities. So I think it's a great thing to look at as a positive during these times.
And the artist fans being so supportive. You know, I had Trevor Hall do a live stream on his album release on Saturday at the Boulder Theater, and it was, you know, donation only, and his fan base was completely supportive, and Trevor took that money and supported his crew and band. But you know, those at least you are in a proper venue with proper recording equipment and making, you know, the best possible live stream as you can. And those like fan supported ones have been very, very positive for a lot of my acts.
Well, that brings up another question. Just why are we not seeing more artists streaming live shows for pay-per-view, I guess, for ticketed streams? We do see some of them, but they seem to be kind of selective. And I'm sure it's a challenge as well. But do you have a take on the ticketed stream as opposed to the more free or fan-supported, maybe tips or something like that?
Well, I can speak to, I have a lot of older artists on my roster, and they're all taking the virus very seriously. And most of them are not set up at home to do any kind of virtual or streaming. So unless the opportunity exists for them to do or go somewhere locally that's following COVID guidelines, they've not been able to do that. And I'm talking about people like Mavis Staples and Taj Mahal and Herb Alpert, who have been invited to do countless types of virtual opportunities. But they're not going to get on a plane, and they're not going to travel, and at least not yet. So the opportunities have been there, and I'm just, again, speaking for some of my older clients, but the reality of being in an at-risk demo just has not allowed them to take advantage of some of the things that are being offered to them.
It's easy to forget how different opinions and different actual guidelines from state to state or city to city, it plays a part, and demographic comfortable wise as well. Spoke with someone in Canada, and they talked about doing a streaming show at a venue, and I, well, why didn't you shoot at the venue? They said, well, we can't. I said, oh yeah, huh? That's kind of funny. In Canada, different rules as well. So just it's hard to remember the reality right now of you know, most of us, schools are closed and we really can't do shows, and then other times it seems like you can do a full show with in-person crowds. So it's still kind of hard to navigate that as well, just the differences between state to state, which makes it very hard to plan the tour, of course.
I was going to say that. I mean, the state to state's a major thing on, you know, states like Indiana or Florida fully opening right now, when other states, you know, aren't even close to opening. And I think we're going to continue seeing the regional type shows and touring. And then slowly, as we kind of gauge how these states are going to open up, you know, you won't see full on tours for a while till you can really know what you're walking into state by state.
Yeah, of course, you can't just open it up like a movie theater and buy tickets. There's a little more planning and physical movement that goes into planning concert tours. It's hard to predict anything, which is what everybody wants to know. And if we knew, we'd be in a different position right now, right?
You know, having said that, though, I do think the election is going to be an important piece here. I expect Joe Biden to win, and if he wins, I expect there'll be some sort of a federal plan when he hopefully takes office in the new year. If Trump wins, it's going to be a free-for-all, and I think it's going to be up to individual promoters and communities and states just to whatever they're comfortable with, which is going to make things very difficult.
Uncertainty looks like we've been dealing with since March, and there's still a lot of it. So definitely. I guess one thing we didn't touch on, which is a little obvious and backpedaling a bit, is how did the name Mint come about? The Mint Talent Group. What does that mean to you guys?
Mint, I mean, it means a lot of things. It's a very all-encompassing word, right? It's a fresh start. It's an organic growth. Mint, it's newly minted company. We just feel like we always felt like it was a powerful word, and we love the idea of having something like that represent us.
It's fresh for sure. Now, if we have more current projects we can talk about. I know the last in many ways we're busier than ever, and in many ways we're almost at a standstill. So if we talk about like current priorities or what the daily grind and Mint looks like right now.
CJ, do you want to talk about some of this stuff, or?
Sure. So I think daily priorities at the moment really include staying on top of current opportunities. It seems to me more than ever that that events are being confirmed with very short lead time. As local restrictions loosen up, et cetera. I mean, I'm seeing shows being confirmed and going on sale with 2 to 4 week notice, which is primarily non-customary nor warranted on either the artist or the promoter, buyer, venue, et cetera, in the past. And now we're all being nimble, as Ryan, as you had mentioned before, and pragmatic in order to take advantage of all these opportunities. So there's a lot of booking being done, as we almost hit October 1st here, middle of the week. There's shows being booked for November, December, and then we're also preparing for the rescheduled events from 20 into 21, and preparing for new tours to launch too by the end of the year. So there's a lot of activity, and it's definitely on my behalf definitely hasn't slowed down whatsoever. Does anybody else have any other feedback or comments on what their daily life brings?
I think we're also monitoring some venues going away, unfortunately, and seeing the loss of some of our independent venues, and just trying to make sure that we can support our ecosystem in the whole entire concert world, just to make sure that when we do return, or we're able to safely return, that these artists will have all these venues in their options list, and we can support them all. So 7 days a week, we can safely return to shows.
And the same holds true, obviously, in the festival space. To Patrick's point earlier, it's going to be up to the regional, the cities, the towns, the municipalities to determine if these shows can play or not play. But there's a great silver lining. We're all trying to see the positives through this. Is everybody keeps saying that it's going to come back bigger and stronger than ever. So from my perspective, and I think we share that as a group, that's super exciting. It's a matter of when, but we just need to keep turning the wheels like we've been doing.
Along with what Phil said about the venues, I think one thing that just keeps going into my brain is how, from a touring booking agent standpoint, we're going to be looking at certain markets that are going to be affected adversely, major markets like San Francisco and Bay Area. So when I'm speaking to C3 about, if they have a, Tahoe casino, just in my brain thinking of how much maybe that market in comparison to San Francisco, and people leaving these vertical cities and whatever they're facing, whether it's New York City or anything like that, how secondary and tertiary markets might be growing to be the alternative for a lot of artists.
And with that in mind, with people moving around, which I mean, I have personal friends that have just, this, not in the music industry, that have had to, pick up and move and relocate due to whatever situation. So there'll be some, we need to be proactive to realize where our audiences are for our clients too, and come up with some creative ways of targeting, the old model might not be the same, and that's one thing we've always keep talking about here with this group is trying to get in front of, some of these, these tech companies that are coming up and trying to use some things that we hadn't done in our previous agencies to really help, again, sell real tickets, know where our audiences are, and really service the client.
It's become almost cliche, but it seems that, I mean, obviously the music hasn't stopped. The fans haven't stopped caring about their favorite artists. And with the direct engagement, there's a lot more opportunity that way. And it's almost cliche, but do you see a lot of the digital and virtual private stuff, especially I could see continuing? Do we see virtual and drive-ins continuing well into post-COVID, or as we get closer, are we going to see a hybrid? Do we have any? I mean, it's hard to predict anything and things change every day, but I guess we do have to have opinions or try to see what the future looks like a little bit. What do we see as we get closer to normalcy, I guess?
I think a lot of the social distancing shows are going to get more and more popular, and not obviously just the drive-ins, but the actual, like CJ had Blackberry Smoke up in Rockford last week, which we went out to, and it was socially distanced. Everyone was very respectful, and it was very organized. And I think that formula works really well, not having to have a drive-in where people can actually walk in. It was an outdoor baseball stadium, but that I feel like will be kind of the hybrid and a lot of promoters I'm talking to are all building out plans for either trying to launch this year or at least in the spring when the warmer weather starts out.
I think something that's been kind of cool and on the radar is like a lot of the venues, at least in Denver, are able to open as long as they're serving food. And it's sort of created this like window of opportunity for like a jam band or someone who might be a little more of a dancey vibe to have like a sit down dinner show. And it's such limited capacity that they'll do like 2 shows in a night and then it sells instantly, and let's do 3 more nights and it becomes like a residency, and it's this whole new opportunity that was never there before. So it's really, the opportunities are there if you're creative. And if you can see like what might be like a window of opportunity, taking it and running with it and sort of like molding it into what you want it to be, I think is the gold.
And I think from a pure content perspective, from the artist's point of view, it's an exciting time. I use that word kind of loosely, but everybody is home and has more time on their hands than ever before, and releasing singles and content, I think is a good time because people have more time in their day and more eyeballs and on things where they maybe in the past were just too wrapped up in their daily busyness. So I've been stressing to my artists, just keep active on social media, put out releases where you can, because now you're going to get more eyeballs than ever before, which is another positive we're trying to see through this.
And I think, the other thing is early on in COVID, everybody sort of thought that things would just return back to normal. This was a temporary fix, whether it's the drive-ins or the streaming, but that things would, return to the pre-COVID times and era. And I think now it's apparent to everybody that that is not the case. And, sort of like Mary said with the drive-ins or Cassie said with the streaming stuff, these are all things that are here to stay in the long term. And, sort of our mobility and nimbleness, to use the Patrick and Ryan's words, are what's going to sort of give us a competitive advantage, moving forward, and not only us as agents, but also our artists a competitive advantage to just be a part of a place where we can sort of move in lockstep and really as a single unit due to our size. And that's something that we all really cared about and we're excited about going into this project, and sort of seeing it in practice and come to fruition has been really exciting.
Have there been things that we've seen that have worked and maybe not worked? Are we doing multiple shows per night? Because I think in the beginning we sort of thought that the clubs would open back up at smaller capacities and that might have happened to some degree. I'm not sure, but have we seen things that have there been surprises along the way, things that didn't work that maybe we thought would be easier? Or I have an audience question about hybrid festivals. Are we going to do reduced capacity festivals and then have a live stream component and sell tickets that way? I guess there's no shortage of combinations that we can have to get there, but I want to hear more about what maybe didn't work and what maybe has worked as a surprise, I guess.
Well, I mean, I could talk about some things that didn't work. Back in early summer, I booked a few indoor socially distanced shows that were to play in the early fall. And then when the time period came around, even though all the guidelines were being followed, it was clear that people weren't ready, even in socially distanced situations, to sit through a full concert indoors. And we had fans emailing the artists saying, "Hey, I would really like to support, but I'll catch you next time," kind of thing. So it's clear to me that right now the socially distanced indoor thing is going to be a while. So that's one thing that didn't work. In terms of hybrid, I mean, we're all privy to the same news, and we're all following kind of the same thing. I guess I would personally, I don't know if an artist is active virtually, how many times they can go to the well on that. So I think the hybrid thing works well if it's if you're presenting artists who haven't done a whole lot of virtual things yet. I think that's where the most success is going to be. And I mean, I would encourage everybody to check out all their options right now, whether that is just a strictly social distance in person or some combination of in person and streaming. I do think that the public is showing that things outdoors right now that can be open, they're willing to buy tickets to and go see. So that's been encouraging, but we're all learning here. And we're all going to find out about what works and what doesn't work, but we're going to have to try a few different things. That's how I feel about it.
I definitely think all the rules are gone. Everything we've learned over the last however long we've been doing this, I feel like we're unlearning, and now we're relearning. And then tomorrow we might have to unlearn what we learned yesterday and learn something new. So, Logan was talking about mobility and just, kind of being able to pivot as quick as you can, because tomorrow there might be some awesome new idea that works for 2 weeks from now. And then come the first snow, we have to learn something new.
I think we also have like never before, a collective responsibility as an industry to do things the right way. And early on in the summer, we definitely saw some of the drive-ins that totally backfired. And due to that, set back a lot of other artists that were planning other drive-ins. And so it really kind of, because of their mistakes, hurt the rest of us in the industry as a whole. We've gotten out of that at this point, but I think we all are learning from each other because, like Cassie, you were saying, the rule book's out the window. It's a totally new landscape, and we're all kind of figuring it out as we go. But I think being overly cautious, overly responsible is something that should be kind of the guiding light for every alternative, new, creative live experience that we all do. And it's been really cool to see how so many of us really are on the same page. There's always going to be that one guy, but for the most part, it's cool to see collectively we all come together.
Yeah, and to with the states fully opening and talking to some of the promoters, say in Florida, just because you can do a full capacity show doesn't mean they're going to, or nor should you book it. It's bringing what we've learned in this last few months and applying it with the proper capacities that we feel are comfortable for the fans and the artists.
And I think Mary, hinted at this a lot. I think more than ever, we're sharing information between different agencies, different managers, different artists about, experiences that went well and not so well. So there's been more of that information collaborative, sharing of information across lines from agencies, et cetera, which has been great. And there's a lot of these, separate organizations that have been set up, smaller venues, cross agency conversations, et cetera. So, the industry coming together has been really important during these times and hugely helpful. We're taking different experiences and sharing them very openly.
Right, most people seem to be on the same page as far as the deals we do need to work right now. We're just trying to see the end of this thing and to come out, if not stronger, at least to get back to the strength we had. So that's been encouraging, definitely across the board, from what I've seen at least. Now, I guess big questions about going forward and predicting what's going to happen. They can change by the day, so we don't try to dwell on those. But do we still see a different way of doing business as an agent? Has this sort of really changed your way you think about doing things, or is it still just core, we're servicing our agents and we're working quickly and doing what we think is right, and the landscape actually doesn't change things? Is there a different outlook now? What is your take on the role of an agent right now?
I would say the going back to the nimbleness, right? Everything is so fluid. Even like deals, you confirm a deal with a certain capacity. That doesn't mean that capacity or that deal is going to stick, and making your artist understand that along with the manager and the promoter, and kind of, it's going back to that we're all in this together and we all have to try to help each other get to the other side mentality. And that, I would say, is the kind of the big takeaway right now with when you're trying to book shows in the future.
I think that adaptation is part of, also goes back to the client relationship. We have had a tremendous outreach from managers and clients sort of ready to buy in to, what we're trying to push out. And that is working with promoters, valued promoters and partners in producing events that will be safe for people to return to. And if that has to change 3 times or 4 times or whatever the situation, for safety or for whatever the reasons are, that's the reason it's changing, and everybody's understanding and working together to make it happen.
I think there's also this element of mental health that we also have to maintain. As agents, like, the hustle is beyond real. Like, you're just go, go, go all the time. And this was such a forced, like, stop and take a deep breath and slow down and look at what you're doing and what's the big picture and now what's the small picture. And now getting back on that horse and, like, keep going. And, how do I maintain, like, responsibility in everything I do? Because if I book a show that's not thoughtful and mindful in how it's booked, the promoter could lose money, someone could get sick, and then that could be a huge setback, not just for the artist, but for our industry as a whole. So you really, really, have to, like, ground yourself and make sure you connect with all parties and just stay aware.
Right, it's a lot to navigate in the first place in normal circumstances, but I think there's an extra layer right now, and it's got to be very challenging, and I have nothing but respect for what you guys are doing. Do we have any, we can go around the horn before we wrap up, about current projects you want to mention, or clients you want to talk about, or anything you want the industry to know about as far as Mint and your role there? Maybe now would be the time.
Well, I can start. I'm heading up the Performing Arts Department at Mint. And you talk about what we've been doing on a day-to-day basis. Well, in recent days, we've been preparing for the Western Arts Alliance Art Midwest Conference, which is a combined virtual conference that starts next week. we'll have a presence there. And we've already started talking to many presenters about their 21-22 seasons. So that's been going underway. And I actually think performing arts is going to be an important bridge in terms of getting the touring industry back to some sense of normalcy. I think that it's important that some of these performing arts centers that have established subscriber bases and hopefully, and I assume still have those subscriber bases, are hopefully going to have full seasons next year, fall, and I'm talking fall 21 through spring 22. So those conversations have started and they're ongoing, and we've got 30 to 40 attractions for performing arts next year. And I think, again, it's a time to be creative, put together interesting packages and themes and shows that people want to see and audiences want to see. So we've been focused on that in the performing arts world here. Pete, do you want to say something about festivals?
Yeah, I mean, in the festival space, everybody's pretty active, let's just say, in terms of bookings. What the deals and capacities look like is still to be determined. But it's positive to see where people's sort of heads are at in terms of the buyers. There's going to be festivals that unfortunately are not going to be able to survive during, this time. But some have had to pivot, like we've talked about, and gone virtual, which has been a good silver lining we're seeing too. But everybody's remaining positive, which is great. And Ryan, I know some of the stuff that we talk about in my space kind of parallels in yours in the casino, if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so for me right now is the opportunity to reach out and, form Mint and talk to each and every buyer that I can in the casino world. I think every industry within travel, with, airplanes to, thinking about like cruise ship industry and how they're affected, is like, we all have these microcosms that are kind of similar in the sense of like, offering entertainment and, something for somebody to, spend their hard-earned money towards. So for me, it's really trying to navigate which casinos are active, be in real time so we can service and make sure that they're aware of some of, our artists that would love to get exposed into that as maybe an alternative for a marketplace option that doesn't exist currently. And just really try to be as available and up to date with making sure that they're knowing what's going on the Mint side.
Yeah, and as the new kid on the block, it's a lot to go and introduce us. I think everybody's doing that individually and together. With thanks to Pollstar with things like this. That's really high on our agenda. Is just introducing Mint to the industry.
Well, to that end, I guess the big question is, what do we see for the future of Mint? I know obviously it's a huge undertaking just to start up right now, especially right now. But anyway, but do you have an end game, a goal for the more distant future? What do we see for Mint going forward?
I think it's the core values of what Mint is. It's the artist and it's the agent, and it's making sure we're all here as our industry comes back, and all of our friends on the other side in the management firms, in the promoters are there too. That's really what it's about, is making sure we can all get to the other side.
I also want to add that, career longevity is important to us at Mint, and we want all of our artists to be able to be working for as long as they want to work. And in that, we're going to have all different types of opportunities. We're going to be presenting all different things to them, but in the same regard, we also want to, bring back to the core that we are going to be around for a long time, and we will have opportunities to present them all different facets, so we can help build or change or transform your career or make a change to what you have been doing previously. It's not just pigeonholed to what you've been doing before.
And we really appreciate the open arms from our industry since our launch last week. The community has been outstanding. And please come and check us out, minttalentgroup.com.
Well, yeah, like you say, you're introducing yourselves, but I know it's a small enough industry. Everyone knows you guys very well, and your clients speak for themselves. It's impressive work and exciting to see the formation, and I'm sure it'll be nothing but good things in the future. Thank you all for your time. If there's any closing remarks, now's the time. We might be wrapping it up.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Now-
Thanks,
now-
you guys.
Really appreciate it.
Call us.